So in this video today, guys, we're going to be taking another cheeky look at Cardano and specifically the price action of ADA. Things are definitely starting to look a little bit more bullish than they have done in the past couple of weeks, and we're going to get into a lot of technical data as well as some fundamental news around Cardano. If you find this video useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you would like to stay up to date with those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. Hit the bell, tap on all, and you won't miss a single video. Right, Chris, with that said, done and out of the way, is there anything else you'd like to bring up now before we jump on down and really get into this technical data for Cardano?
The only thing, Nick, is just a reminder, we are validators for Cardano, so you can delegate your ADA using the ticker 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘. We've got over 1,200 delegators with over 14 million ADA delegated to our pool, and the pool has been achieving around 6% APY, but we do expect that to average out over the year at 5.5%. But with that said, another great week ahead for the next epoch, again above the 5.5% APY. So yeah, if you're not in the pool, why not jump in, earn a passive income, and make your ADA work for you.
Fantastic. Right, guys, let's jump on down and get into everything Cardano.
Let's do it.
Okay, guys, to start with, we're just going to briefly touch on the overall fear and greed index at the start of this week. This is actually round rated as just fear rather than extreme fear like it was yesterday, rising from 23 to 28. But of course, this is just your generalized crypto space fear and greed index. It's not Cardano specific. So what we tend to like to do is actually hop on over to 𝗖𝗢 and have a look at what the artificial intelligence here is telling us that the fear and greed index is for Cardano's ADA. So right here we actually have a C2 rating for the fear and greed index when it comes to Cardano. This is actually a really positive sign. It means it's increasing from grade D up to grade C, and ultimately that rating does mean that things are starting to improve. So again, Cardano seems to be very much aligned to what we are seeing in terms of the fear and greed index for the general space. Okay, so they seem to be pretty good and in consensus with each other. Now, obviously, those moving averages are also a C2 rating, and the Sharpe ratio is actually still a grade D, which means there is still risk to those rewards. With this being said, though, things are starting to look up, and we're going to get into the charts and have a look at what Cardano's ADA is doing in a moment, and there is some pretty positive news there as well. If we scroll down here, we can see the profitability is still up. There is an A1, which is fantastic to see such huge profitability and those returns on your investment on something like Cardano's ADA. This has done phenomenally well since the end of 2020, and it still progresses quite well so far during 2021. Now, obviously over here we have the 𝗕𝗢𝗪 ratio, and again it's showing as indicating to us what the liquidity is like for Cardano. So unlike some of these other cryptocurrencies that you're seeing at the moment, Cardano's 𝗕𝗢𝗪 ratio is actually showing us that we have an A2 rating. So again, this is very, very good. It means there's not any liquidity issues when it comes to Cardano, whereas we would look at things like VeChain or Harmony, there are definitely issues with liquidity. So Cardano's ADA being an A2 rating for liquidity, we have an A1 rating for profitability. We've got a slight improvement on that fear and greed index. It's now going to start, in my opinion, getting that reversal, and things are going to start moving back to the upside. So some fantastic stuff going on here when it comes to what is going on with Cardano's ADA. Now, what we're going to do is just talk a little bit now about some fantastic news that's recently come out over the weekend for Cardano. So this is actually two pieces of the same pieces of news, basically. Okay, we have Cardano flourishes with Alonzo update and green initiatives, and this one's from investing.com. And then we have another one here from Yahoo Finance, where Cardano's Alonzo now runs smart contracts. Development update reveals. So I'm going to go through this one. It's a little bit more in deep depth than the one prior. So a new development update shared on YouTube reveals that Alonzo is now able to run smart contracts. The revolution came as part of a regular video update. And I think this is actually part of IOG's co-developer Cardano, Tim Harrison, that was it. And this is their marketing and communications director. And basically, apparently, it could create a very simple smart contract and pass it to the ledger. So they can have their first smart contracts written against our network. And he did explain the following as well. It could be as simple as a transaction that passes back a hello world, or a confirmation of a payment that has been made. it means that we have Alonzo running smart contracts. Now, again, guys, this is only for the testnet, but this is a good step to make sure that things are working as kind of expected. And again, in the very basic steps here, I think it's been rolled out onto the testnet for about 2 weeks now, and testing is obviously going ahead and working through. I think the actual rollout for Alonzo onto the mainnet is end of July, beginning of August. So again, you're going to start seeing a lot of this kind of news where we're testing and learning a little bit more about what's going on with the smart contract functionality on the Cardano network. And we'll find out, how complex some of these things can be, or how simple it's going to be to start with, until we have things like Marlow rolled out as well, which again are those toolbox for those developers to actually utilize and run smart contracts on the Cardano ecosystem. So again, this is another interesting step forward. I'm not going to go into all of the detail, but it does basically mark the first step in Space Chain, which is incorporated Ethereum technology into the hardware before. There's a lot going on when it comes to smart contracts, and so definitely want to be watching this space quite a bit. So other than that, guys, let's jump on down into our chart here. So this is the Cardano to USDT. This is the daily chart, and Binance is the data source for this one. Now, again, anyone who's been seeing some fake data or some errors with coin market cap, this is actually showing us at 50 cent, which is down 64.9%. This is not true. Again, our data here is actually indicating that we have a current price of $1.51. So I'm imagining that CoinMarketCap are having some issues with their APIs, and no doubt this is causing a little bit of uncomfortable or a bit of disturbance in the space when people are only looking at CoinMarketCap and not referencing something else. So Binance here has it at $1.51. To be fair, I think if you were able to buy it at 50 cent, I definitely would be taking part in that. But right now, obviously, this is the daily chart. Binance has that data source, as we said. Now, we've zoomed right out on this daily chart, and what we're going to do is just throw this back on and give us a bit of an idea of where we're likely to go moving further forward. So what we can see here is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is where I think we're likely to go during the peak of this bull run. Now, we also have that Fibonacci. We'll get into that in a moment. And we have these key areas here, wave 2 being flat, wave 4 being sharp, wave 3 being the longest wave, and wave 5 topping out there towards that $10 range, but has the potential to go even much further than that, depending on what else fundamentally happens in this space. So what we're going to do, guys, is actually just drill down into this daily chart and just talk about some of these key levels on this Fibonacci. Okay, so we can see exactly what's been going on recently over the weekend when it comes to Cardano's ADA. Now, there is a bit of a downward trend and there was a bit of an upward trend. We'll get into those on the hourly chart in a moment. Ultimately, we want to be taking a look at what's going on here with our Fibonacci retracement from our high down to our low area here. And again, what we can see here is we're battling up against that 618 before we had the pullback. We actually kind of consolidated around the basically the lower area here, the 3.8 area, right, the 38% retracement area. So right now, this is an area that we kind of are battling up against, finding resistance. And again, this is something that you can see quite a bit here with the resistance and support re and flip. Now, this is the next battle for us to push on through. This comes in at about $1.56. We need to get a closed candle above that area, which will be really good to move us up towards the 50% zone. There isn't much resistance between there and there. So ultimately, the real resistance in this consolidation that we're seeing is really about that 382 area of the $1.56. Okay, so it's always good to know what's going on there. Now let's get into our hourly, where we can start to see what our trend lines are looking like. Okay, so right away we can see that we actually had this breakout event. And again, this is something that we were talking about with many of these altcoins having a breakout. Some of them actually had a breakdown before having the breakout to the upside. But right now you can see the breakout to the upside here, and a slight pullback, and finding good support here at $1.50. This is where it just got that reversal. And guys, this is something that we can see over here. It's been a bit of a resistance line, so it's crucial that we pushed through this. We obviously saw the catapult moving up, finding the resistance line up here, before pulling back testing on this area. This is what you would call is an expected kind of move. And again, this particular resistance was also an area that you can see consistently being over here as a support line as well. So right now, this current move is key that we hold this, and it looks like it's working well. And the reason that we had this move that you can see up here in this shorter term is all around that relative strength index. Okay, so what we end up with is a oversold area, so an overbought area, sorry, as we move to the upside. And then obviously indicating that we need to move and correct this to the downside. Right now we have a relative strength index of 51, right as we found this support line. So again, we can get that reversal and start moving the price of ADA back up again. Okay, and what we're looking to do is actually try to break this area here and then back test back down and confirming that area as a support line. Okay, so what I'm quickly do is just mark that up about there, right? So that's going to be our target zone. We'll grab hold of our arrow. So the expectation here, guys, is we move slightly above this line and then we pull back down, back testing on it. Now, this will be a bit of a challenge considering that we haven't actually had a steep enough correction to potentially allow this. So we might actually find that we actually have a bit of a semi kind of correction back to this point here, a pullback testing this area once again, before eventually we have enough of a momentum to actually go ahead and push through here, back testing that as an area of support. And once that happens, that's when you can then go ahead and take that next level. Okay, so it could be a little bit of between, trading between these two areas of $1.50 and $1.58. We could bounce around here until everything lines up nicely, but the expectations are that we want to be holding this area. It's going to be absolutely vital that we do. If we do have a breakdown of this area, then we'll be looking to flip and turn our previous resistance downward trend into a support trend as well. And again, we also do have support at $1.48, which is this yellow line just here. So again, a fall down isn't going to be too far, but this is the key area that I would like to see hold. If this can hold here, we'll be in a very good position to continue the motion to the upside. And again, there are a few additional areas of resistance and support that could be established here. We obviously have this one just at this point here. We can see this has been touched many times on this hourly chart. So again, we could push up to here, pull down, push up, turn this area into support before having that breakout. So again, there's lots going on this hourly chart. For the short-term piece, right? But obviously, as we were talking about earlier with the longer-term understanding of where Cardano is likely to go, it's always going to be the long-term vision that we have on this channel. And the shorter-term kind of piece here is just to help people understand that, even though we might be a bearish sort of short-term outlook, the zoom out approach shows you what's actually going on from a bigger macro piece, right? So ultimately we are looking to move Cardano's price up towards that $7.20 up to $10. That's the sweet spot for me currently within the technical data, and potentially some of those fundamentals that are changing as we get Alonzo, as we usher in the Gsogn era, that would potentially change the fundamentals, or the fundamentals do change, which will obviously have an impact on the technicals, and it could actually indicate that we move higher, further and be above $10 range, maybe 15, maybe 20, who knows. We'll have to see what happens to the technical data once we start seeing some of those fantastic pieces of fundamental development actually reach the mainnet. So right now we're looking at the short term to see if we can break some of these resistance lines and obviously break through some of these fantastic kind of price discovery elements that we'll be looking at going forward. But of course, the bigger part of this is always to zoom out and see what is going on from a bigger piece of work, because ultimately, guys, so the long-term investor is the one who is going to potentially be the one who wins, and is not going to be susceptible to all that fear in the space. They have this vision, they can see where things are likely to go. Whether you are a 1 to 2 year kind of investor, or maybe it's a 5 to 10 year plan that you have, the development for Cardano and things that are going to be, potentially achieved with the Cardano ecosystem do put this thing at some phenomenal high values in the future. So again, depending on where you are as an investor, what kind of strategy you're employing, you could start to see some fantastic gains and return on your investment, as indicated within our technical data here from advice dashboard, where the profitability for Cardano is A1, the best rating that a cryptocurrency can be given. Again, all of these other kind of micro views here, where you have some fear in the space right now, that's potentially a purchasing opportunity. You have risk to rewards on the short term, but not on the long term, in my opinion. And again, it's important that we have an understanding as to what is going on, what is the long-term vision when it comes to Cardano's ADA. Now, Chris, I've kind of gone through a few different things there for Cardano. We obviously have some interesting news around smart contract functionality launching on the testnet, and they're able to actually push some of that data down to the ledger. We obviously have spoken about that kind of bigger view, that macro view, right? If in doubt, zoom out. And you can see what's going on here with a bigger wave 5 moving up towards that $7.20 to $10 range. Now, obviously, there's some short-term kind of corrections that will be due, and obviously some interesting resistance lines that we'll have to get past. But is there anything from a fundamental point of view that you want to kind of leave the guys with? I know you've been looking at a lot of different projects that are looking to launch on Cardano.
Yeah, so I guess on that note, I'm doing some member videos. Obviously, we jointly did one yesterday on the first launch pad that we wanted to sort of take people through. So yeah, I kind of figure we'll start with launch pads, and I found some very promising projects. So if you're not a member already, I think it's $4.99 a month. So do check that out. It's a reasonable price, and hopefully we're going to support you guys in being able to identify decent looking projects and opportunities to get into some of the IDOs.
Fantastic. So guys, hopefully you found this useful and informative. If you did, then do go ahead and hit that like button. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you'd like to stay up to date with those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do go ahead and subscribe. By subscribing, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything we do here. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? Tap that bell, hit on all, and you won't miss a single notification. Right, guys, with that said, done and out of the way, we hope everyone has a fantastic day. And we'll catch you all in the next one.
Yeah, take care.